Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Aquatone wing range. This is the sister brand to Aztron. A lot of you are going to be potentially looking at this equipment to get into the sport of winging or having a cheaper price point wing or inflatable board in your quiver. So if you're interested in hearing our feedback on the Air Wing Slice and the inflatable Echo, definitely worth checking out this full video. Remember everyone, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet and you definitely find this video useful, it is well worth a subscription. There is so much great stuff going on our YouTube channel, and also definitely check out SUPboarder Pro, which is our subscription service on our website, which gives you the next level of SUPboarder content. So the way I'm going to split this review down of these two products is I'm going to speak about the board first, then move on to the wing. Going to give you pros and cons about both of these products and really hopefully highlight if these products are right for you. So let's jump right in there with the Echo inflatable wing board. So this board is 5'8" long, it's 29 inches wide, its thickness is 4.75 inches, and that brings the volume at 125 litres. This retails at a very competitive price of £459, dollars or euros. Weighs 6.3 kilograms and has a maximum PSI pressure of 15. So who is this board aimed at? Well, both these Aquatone products are definitely going to be aiming more towards the beginner and intermediate, but to be honest, with this board, you'll find out you could ride this as an advanced rider as well. But definitely the cheaper price points are going to draw a lot of you more beginner-based riders into looking at these products. And you'll probably find these products in good packages as well, which obviously will get even more of you beginners onto the water. The construction of the Echo board is what Aquatone call their double layer fusion technology. It's got an internal core of drop stitch, just like all other inflatable paddle boards. That's where you have nylon strands going from the top and the bottom, which gives it the dimpled look. It's got two layers of PVC on the top and the bottom, which gives it a much more of a hard wearing nature. Obviously, Aquatone being the sister brand of Aztron, they have been making inflatable paddle boards for probably 6 years now, so they've got a bit of experience with making those inflatable paddle boards. The main difference thing between this type of board and the Aztron range of boards, because you'll see that some Aztron boards are very similar size to this. The Aztron ones are double chamber in the middle. These are single chamber. Because of that, these boards are actually much lighter as well. The foil box itself is the same foil box as you see on the Aztron boards. It's got like a built-in plastic molded box that goes from the top to the bottom of the board. It does give you quite a direct feel over the foil. It does give a little ridge here where the EVA pad is over the top of the foil box, but I personally find that quite a nice thing to know where you are on the board. Talking about the EVA pad, it does seem to be fairly grippy and is finished off well on the board. The actual look of the board and the design I think is quite nice. There's no wobbly rail marks or dodgy glue marks on this board at all. For the value, the finish of the board is actually really quite outstanding. Got a central carry handle. It's just a basic webbing carry handle, but it is nicely in the middle of the board, so you can carry it with the foil attached or without the foil attached, getting it to your winging location. It's got a maximum pressure, as I said, of 15 psi, and the inflation valve is up at the front. The package you get as standard with this board, you do get a pump and a fairly lightweight basic bag, but because the board doesn't weigh very much, it goes in the bag really easy and it's not very hard to transport. And you also get quite a nice Aquatone coiled leash, not the thickest of leashes, so if you're planning some big full-on downwind winging experiences offshore, maybe you want to upgrade your leash, but for most people doing most types of winging, this sort of leash is absolutely fine. It's attached to the board with a leashing point at the back of the board. Looking at the bottom of the board and the foil box, you'll see the foil box is quite well finished off on the board. The foil box as well, it does seem to take a good range of foils and there's a nice amount of depth there, so you can get your normal foil box bolts in there. So if you're transitioning from your composite board, you can usually use the same bolt setup on this inflatable board. But obviously you do want to double check that before you screw your bolts up super tight. Looking at the design characteristics of this board, you'll see it's very similar to other 5'8" inflatable wing boards on the market, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's got a smaller bit of rocker up at the nose there, stop you nose diving, flat towards the back of the board. There isn't any runner or plastic edge at the back here. It's very much a stripped down board, but it does work on the water, which I'll speak about now. This is a very comfortable and easy board to use. It does feel quite light underfoot, and it does seem to get up onto foil very, very easily, which is interesting because it's got no tail release or any runner at the back there, but it does seem to pop up on foil very comfortably. This is a board I'm quite happy using in a large range of conditions, but obviously if I wanted to have foot straps, I'm going to have to look somewhere else because this board doesn't have them. So we're going to talk about the cons first off. When we're flying with this board, it does fly a little bit nose down, but not very much, and it's nothing that you really notice. It doesn't nosedive or catch in the nose when you do come down to land, like when I've ridden other inflatable boards in the past. There's some interesting observations that are on the deck pad. It does look like it comes with foot straps, but actually that's just sort of a graphic sort of cutout of the actual deck pad itself. So it does not have built-in foot straps. Probably one of the biggest observations and biggest cons to note when we were looking at this board is actually the way that the leashing point is attached, or the way you attach your leash to the leashing point, because it doesn't go through a stainless ring or anything. You just put your webbing of your leash tie through the PVC loop over the back of the board. It's all right for beginners in most conditions, but if you were going to take this board out and have to depend on this board a bit more in a sort of open water environment, probably want to try and upgrade that somehow. If I could maybe have an extra leash that went onto my handle. And another interesting negative is actually there's a bit of water trapped in the foil box itself. Obviously that will come out somewhere. I don't know if it's trapped between the board and the plastic foil box, but you can hear it when we've washed the board off and we're rolling it around by our ears, and we can definitely hear water inside the foil box. Not a massive problem. It's not going to cause you any issues, but it does obviously make your board weigh a little bit more. So moving on to the pros, because there's a few cons there, but the pros easily outweigh all of those cons. Definitely a big pro for a lot of people is going to be the price point of this board. You do seem to get quite a lot of board for the money, and it does ride very nicely for that price point. A lot of beginners are going to look at it, a lot of intermediates are going to look at it. We'll dive into the weights and who it will best suit in a minute, but price point and construction and finish, this board gets a really good thumbs up from us. So now let's move on to the Aquatone Air Wing Slice. This is a 5 meter we've been using, but you can also get it in a 4 meter as well. Who's it aimed for? Well, it's again gonna be more of the beginner intermediates, probably more of the beginners, because it isn't gonna have such a higher performance as some of the more expensive wings on the market. It is a relatively lightweight wing at 2.67 kilos when we weighed it with the leash, and it retails at £639 dollars or euros. This one has a maximum PSI pressure of 7 PSI printed on the wing. So this is probably one of the cheapest price point wings that we've seen from a big well-known brand that sells to shops. So I don't mean a direct sell brand, I mean a brand that you can go to a shop, maybe even try one of these wings before you buy one. And that is actually quite a nice thing, because if you've got any warranty issues, you can go directly to your shop. It's much nicer to have a more of a relationship to a shop, and having a cheaper price point wing in that shop is obviously only going to be a good thing. So looking at the wing itself, this is very similar to a lot of other wings on the market, just like the inflatable board, and that isn't a bad thing. You're going to want something that works, is comfortable, is light and easy to use, and this Slice does do that. You'll recognize this sort of layout with the main leading edge and the main rib. You've got your 4 standard handles, nicely padded, nicely stood off from the rib. You've got 2 inflation ports here. You've got one on the main leading edge and one on the rib. Both of these inflation ports are using the standard inflatable SUP pump, which is nice. So if you've come and you pumped up your board, you can pump up the wing. I do find that pump system really easy to use. It locks on really easy, and when you want to let the air out, it's very quick and easy to do so. Definitely you'll see that the construction of this wing is a little bit more stripped back compared to more expensive wings in the market, so you won't find there isn't as many rubbing points or any rubbing material on the trailing edge or on the tips of the wings. There is a small amount on the leading edge up there, but it's definitely not as a hard wearing sort of Kevlar based material that you would find on obviously those more expensive wings. The ripstop nylon itself, possibly a little bit lighter than other wings, but the finish of the wing, the stitch work, the way that the handles have been stitched on, it looks very, very good, to be honest, and it's a sort of thing that we'd see this same sort of finish on more expensive wings. So maybe it's the materials that are a little bit cheaper, but the finish of this wing, just like the board, is actually really good. But of course, let's move on to some pros and cons, because there is going to be some negatives. One of the biggest negative, or the negative you'll notice straight away when you get on the water, is unfortunately the leash is too short when you're riding with the leash on your back hand. You can't actually reach the back handle if you wanted to, so that leash does need to be a little bit longer. Obviously you could easily extend that. Windows, there are obviously no windows in this wing. That is a pro and a con. We'll look at the con obviously here. If you're getting into winging and you're definitely winging in a built-up area with lots of other wingers, having windows is nice, even if you've got a little one, just to give you a bit more confidence as you're trying to get up on foil and everything's going on around you. So there is no windows on this wing. Obviously there'll be some pros which we'll jump into in a minute. The handle setup is okay, but the front handle could be a little bit further forward to give you a little bit more control when it gets windy. You'll notice the wing has what you call a pre-loaded canopy, so it has the sort of shape in the wing already. It will bag out a little bit, which will give you a little bit more power. It isn't the most powerful of wings, so it's not a real grunty wing, so if you're a heavier rider, this probably isn't the wing for you. So it's not the super powerful wing, but there will be a flip side on the Pro, which we'll speak about in a minute because of that. And also in the stronger, gustier conditions, you will notice that the trailing edge, the leech of the wing does flutter quite a lot. There is quite a lot of noise you can hear from the wing as well. That's why some brands have mini leech battens in the back to stop the fluttering, and also how the canopy is tensioned makes a difference there as well. But let's flip that into the pros. A lot of those negatives will have pros. So because there's no window, because maybe the material is a little bit lighter, you have got a very light wing. So when you get up and flying, and definitely I've noticed this compared to other cheaper price point wings in the market, this wing has a good amount of control in the medium sort of wind range. So super light winds, yeah, we could do with a bit more power. Really windy conditions, it starts to flutter, but for most wing conditions, it's actually a very comfortable wing. Very light, very responsive, very easy to use. Another major pro for a beginner, it's very, very easy to turn over. So your wing's always rotating around, and usually as a beginner, it's the wrong way up when you climb back on your board, but it's very easy to turn over, rotate, and get going again. So the general weight of the wing really does help this wing perform on the water. Also, having no windows means you can pack this wing down nice and easily. You're not going to worry about damaging that window material. So it's a great wing to have with an inflatable board, always in the back of the car or van, just in case the wind gets up. And another thing is, because these inflation ports are inflatable paddleboard ports, a lot of you are potentially going to have a pump available, because you don't actually get a pump as part of the package. You just get the lightweight bag, which is absolutely fine. And to be honest, keeping some of the pumps out of packages is a great thing for the environment as well. So giving you a summary of both these products from Aquatone, they're definitely going to get a lot of people interested in the wing side of our sport. Looking at the Slice Air Wing, well, there is a lot of very competitive price point wings on the market at the moment. And I don't just mean in the new market, you could be looking at the secondhand market as well. So there definitely is a bit of competition to get you onto this wing, but this wing has got a lot going for it. And I do think if you find it as a good package price, maybe with the Echo board, it would be a great wing to get you on the water as a first timer, or having a cheaper wing setup that you're not worried about trashing so much, maybe if you're more of an intermediate or advanced rider. But definitely don't look for this wing if you want loads of bottom end power, because it isn't going to be as powerful as some of those more expensive wings with maybe a deeper profile. Wind wise, it's very happy in moderate wind conditions. It can handle the light wind conditions maybe for a lighter rider. Sweet spot of rider up to about 85 kilos. I think in moderate winds is going to be happy riding this wing. Giving you a summary of the Echo, I have got a little bit more love for the Echo itself compared to the Slice. Not because the Slice is a really bad product, just because the Echo is hitting a really good price point. And again, because it's available in a shop, a lot of people are going to be able to go out and demo this before they buy one. I think a lot of you are going to be potentially getting into this as a beginner, of course. If you're looking at a beginner, you're going to be first timer, probably 80 kilos and down, really happy at jumping on this as a first time. If you're looking at it as an intermediate rider, you could be looking at it up to about 90 kg, 95. An advanced rider, you could be looking at it up to about 100 kilos, but you're more used to riding those shorter boards if you're more advanced anyway. So both these products from Aquatone actually do deserve to be in the market. I do think if you find these on the market as a package, potentially there's going to be some good package prices out there. They could be a very good setup for you to look at as a first time winger or an intermediate winger. I hope you found this review interesting and informative. Have you got these products? Please let us know. Have you ridden the Slice? Do you own the Echo? Let us know your feedback. That is obviously the most important thing, getting your feedback of real world riders have been using the product, especially over a few months. Let us know how you've been getting on. Remember, if you found this or any of our other videos useful, please give us a subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you on another video soon.